he is and what a great personality he has. And it is just so nice that he's finally accepted and kids play with him and grown-ups love him and he feels really good about himself now.
One of the controversies is that there's no test for ADHD, no blood test, no psychological test. You have to interview a parent or a teacher, preferably both, and find out what the child's behavior is like. So the diagnosis is very subjective. So there are two areas. One is in the area of measuring attention, and one is in the area of genetics. And most people have evaluated what ADHD children do in laboratory tests and concluded that there's something deficient in what's called executive functions. And then brain imaging studies have been done to try to look at those areas that are associated with executive functions to see if there's anything different in ADHD children than in children without ADHD. So the three areas of attention that we adopted from the Posner and Rakel approach of the neuroanatomy of attention is to try to evaluate how alert children are and how well they orient to stimuli, and then how well they resolve conflict. And these are the executive functions. So we've narrowed down the biology or the neuroanatomy mostly to areas in the frontal lobe, either the anterior cingulate gyrus in the middle part of the frontal lobe or the lateral part of the frontal lobe that is more associated with memory and other types of complicated processing. So these are the deficits that children manifest in attention. They have executive function deficits when they are called on to do something new.
The word executive functions, like
hold a response, not do the typical thing, but wait and do something new. That breaks down.
Executive.
And we think that the brain areas involved in the frontal lobe are about 10% smaller based on imaging studies with magnetic resonance imaging in ADHD children than in other children who don't have ADHD.
Just appreciate that because it's
and also from the functional MRI studies, seems like the blood flow to those areas is different, decreased in children with ADHD compared to children without. So we think the anatomy of attention has directed us to the parts of the brain that might be or might show abnormalities in ADHD. So that's a big chunk. 10 years ago, we didn't have that type of information or knowledge of what brain areas might be involved, but now we do. And that's been a big advance in knowledge. And then the other area is been in genetics. So the brain areas have led us to hypothesize certain genes, primarily because we know the genes involved in particular systems, neurotransmitter systems like the dopamine system, or we know the genes that build the receptors that are concentrated in certain brain regions, like the dopamine 4 receptor gene, which is in the frontal lobes primarily. So we focused on certain genes in the dopamine system to see if there are variants of those genes, alleles, that are different in ADHD groups than in normal groups of children or children without ADHD. And remarkably, over the last 5 years, there have been 2 associations of dopamine genes with ADHD. And in psychiatric disorders, typically something that one person finds or one group finds then isn't found by the next group, so there's not replication. But with the dopamine transporter gene and with the dopamine 4 receptor gene, multiple groups have found an association. So we think we're hot on the trail of something that might be a genetic basis for the disorder in about half the cases, certainly not all of them. Which is not a necessary or sufficient condition, but the biology of the disorder is being investigated pretty intensively. And through neuroanatomy or functions of the nervous system with very sophisticated imaging techniques, or by molecular biology, which is certainly a new era now that the Human Genome Project has sort of come to the first phase with a lot of information about genes that exist that might be related to disorders or just to normal attention. That's the biology of ADHD, sort of up to date now.
Okay, that's pretty much it.